Yeah, we had on the agenda public comment.
Yeah.
I don't know, Sarah, have you received any public comment, Secretary? I have not received any public comment either.
I'll just start sticking to my own agenda once.
Yeah.
Okay. Fine, if we can start to just go through. If you just scroll it through, if you would, Jeff, and as we see anything.
I just ask a question.
Yeah.
The form that was out there on the Google Drive, there was the one from the meeting last time. That was just the building, right?
So you're right. This that we have before us this evening is because the two are virtually identical. In order to make sure that we were tracking changes without significant errors, trying to duplicate two, Vin and I were just working on this one. You did substantial
Yeah, that's what I wanted to
edits
it's the one
on
that I
this
did.
one. Yes.
Okay.
I went through and adopted all the straightforward grammatical or changes to like next gen, school construction committee, whatever. All of those. I left, as you'll see in here, several places highlighted or comment sections off to the right for discussion.
Yep.
We've also taken the liberty of securing an RFQ number from the town and plugging it in. Vin had that squared away today. So this should be pretty clean. Aside from the several highlighted areas and comments that we have to settle this evening, once we settle that, we'll duplicate the document and just change the language to the new North End. Yeah, I just want to acknowledge the time and energy Chuck put into making numerous updates on that. I thought I was going to come back from break and do that, but Chuck had done a lot, and so we just did some additional stuff to bump into it.
Just FYI, my last name is B-U-R-G, not B-E-R-G. I changed it on there already.
Okay.
And just to highlight a couple of things as we're going along, January 9th is next Monday, is the date that we're planning to advertise it.
Right.
This will be posted on the town's website, and any addendum, any questions that come in, those have to be posted up as addendum, which will be done on the town website. Obviously, we'll coordinate that all in the background.
Mhm.
Those questions, when they come in, which is on the RFQ, would go to Jeff and to Sean, Rich Gussenberg, and myself. So we've got plenty of backup, to make sure questions are getting addressed.
And technically, the questions that go to town manager at Cheshire don't exclusively go to Sean. They also go to Arnett and to Noel, the executive assistant in that office. So there's plenty of coverage. We had that conversation with Sean today, who's just back from vacation today.
What are those replied to them?
I'm sorry?
Who replies to them and what are they replied to?
I think we would determine what the issue was and then identify who would reply to based on the issue.
And whenever we reply, that is exactly what goes into the addendum, so that any other interested proposer,
Get the same
goes on
information.
the website and they can see all the posted addendum.
Where else would this be advertised?
We advertise it in one paper, the New Haven Register, typically.
under legal and then post it on the website. But we do this for RFQs all the time. People know.
And we have
When
to
it goes
post it
out.
on the state portal.
Yeah, it needs to go on the DAS portal.
That's a
That's
requirement,
It's
DAS
usually
state
like
That's
portal.
the-
state services that are like ripped from the different areas.
Right.
Just pull what's out there and
Exactly.
post them to the services people pay for. It'll be-
Yeah.
We would certainly forward it to the firms that we know, that we've done business with in the past, so that, they can decide if they want to, submit a request.
I just want to make sure I understood from last meeting, I got it right. There's 2 RFQs, and then once we get people in and talk with them, we may give them the option to do both as one lump proposal, or We're gonna keep it separate? or
They have
worry
to,
about that later.
they have to present us a package for each of the schools. Be the same exact package, but they would say, I'm applying for the Norton School, I'm applying for the North End School. They would just duplicate the same package. When we do our interviewing, we can choose two separate architects, or if there's a firm that's large that presents well, we could determine that we want one architect for both schools. But
Does that
we would look
sound-
at them separately.
Jeff, is that, you know, from a,
Just a little tweak on it. Remember, it's RFQ, you're getting statements of qualifications. So, you know, anybody that submits a statement of qualifications is free to submit for both projects, one project, and then you'll be making two short lists of not more than 4 firms that you'll send the RFP to. It's at that point that if somebody wants to submit a proposal, a fee proposal, where they give you one number for both and a separate number if they're only bidding one.
okay. All right.
But at the moment, it's
Two.
two separate paths.
Yep.
That's what we want.
They have
Yeah.
to respond, each one,
That's-
you know, if they're interested in both.
The next section here, we've embedded the appendices, is a link, but when we actually put the document together, it'll be tacked on to the end. Appendix 2 is the ed specs that were approved by the Board of Education and submitted to the state, which they'll want to see. But Appendix 3 is, we talked about here a high-level timeline, but when we met, we decided we wanted to kind of bag that timeline. I just want to make sure we're still doing that. I'll drop that sentence out of this document, or if Jeff, you think that there's some real compelling reason to include an old drafted timeline we had or not, just pick your brain on that.
I would indicate preliminary dates because, you know, these firms are going to want to plan their work and know what you have in mind so they can put a staffing model together.
Okay.
So were you
I
going
would
to
leave
include
it
the
as
schedule?
August
then?
2026. I wouldn't put a schedule in there. It's an
Yeah,
RFQ one.
I would just tell them, you know, when you're looking to have the building occupied.
Okay.
So right there, we say to be
Yeah,
open
that's
for
in there.
students in August of 2026, to get rid of everything else.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, moving along.
Does that change appendix 3 or was appendix?
We don't have
3
appendix
August?
3 now.
Okay.
And
But
there is no
there
appendix
Which is
4,
fine.
right, is what I'm saying?
No.
Okay.
This section here is about schematic design. Included here that the architectural firm will shall prepare detailed and descriptive narratives for each alternative option developed, including an articulation of both pros and cons based on preliminary calculations, sustainability assessment, cost estimates, initial estimates of funding from third-party sources, schematic drawings, CPM or PERT analysis of project schedule, and such backup information as is reasonably requested by the committee. Chuck, I think you had in here discuss, and I accepted it. And does that ring a bell to you?
Not on that one, no.
Okay.
I don't remember that one.
Okay. There's the next highlighted item is the architectural firm will work closely with staff and other relevant groups in development of the design of the new school. That's a discussion item. I know we had talked about that actually in the last meeting, and there was a desire to include that piece in there, which is why we added it. I don't know if people want to elaborate on that. I see Rich, put a comment in about importance of those things, but
To me, what's there is fine.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, relevance just a loose term. Who's determining what's relevant?
Yeah, I think
That's-
we will.
that's a touchy
Well,
area.
you guys are the boss.
Yeah,
And again, it's an RFQ.
Yeah.
It's just getting us quals. It really isn't.
And it could be, park and rec department, could be people who live in the neighborhood, it could be, as you go along.
Chuck picked up this reference from 1984.
I saw that too, I agree.
We can make this thumb drive, right, Jeff, instead of CD-ROM?
I have no idea why that says CDR. Absolutely.
Maybe.
You have to buy a special machine.
Yeah.
We have specs that I've seen that last couple.
I would just say electronic media
Yeah,
because
that's
you may,
right.
yeah, yeah.
Do they actually submit like a physical disc, a
We
drive?
had to, we just won a job in Andover to build our community center.
Wow.
And we had the books, the RFP books, and then we had it all on
On
a drive. Yep.
Wow.
We are asking for 10 copies, hard copies,
Yeah.
plus an electronic drive, so.
Just, I know we didn't highlight it, but just again, a quick review of the timetable. As Rich already said, release of the RFQ on the 9th. Statements of qualifications due the 27th. Review qualifications February 1st. February 3rd, notice of RFP and interviews initiation. RFP due. February 22nd. Interviews of selected firms, week of February 27th. Selection recommendation would be for the March 10th meeting, and then town council meets on the 14th.
So I noted on the agenda, talk about the schedule, but if we were to hear to this, it means really that we do not have a meeting scheduled presently on February 2nd. But the RFQs are coming in, we need to take a look at those, and we need to make a decision by the 3rd. So that we would probably need to have a meeting on the 2nd in order to go through. You could come in early, I suppose, on the 1st or the 2nd, look through them, otherwise our meeting that evening on the 2nd. And then the other end is on the 27th, 28th, March 1st, 2nd, 3rd. That week would be the week of doing interviews. So depending on how many interviews we're doing, we might need to meet multiple days that week. We were talking about not doing more than 2 on an evening. And we potentially could be doing 4 for each school. We could have as many as 8 interviews to do over that week. It could be less than that, but just so that people are aware, they need to kind of be blocking out time that week for us to set up those interviews.
Is there a meeting on the 26th, right,
There's a meeting on of
January?
January. We have a meeting on the 26th of January, yes.
Can we change the statement of qualifications due to the 26th? That's a day earlier, and it gives us a chance to review them in a normal meeting. Instead of having 6 meetings in February.
Right. And if we could do that, I'll say it's better for Vin and I, who are wrapping up our budget process. And we already have other nights booked out where we couldn't be here because we're working with the board to resolve the budget. So
And it's still over 2 weeks.
Yeah.
objections to the 26th?
I
Not
think
that-
that's
I think a good
idea.
suggestion.
Excellent.
Okay. All right. Any other
So that allows us on the 26th at our meeting.
to review the
Go over
statements?
whatever.
Yeah.
So the review qualifications would be 26, and then the notifications will be 3rd, right?
Notification we keep on the 3rd. That
Yeah,
gives
just
us
keep it on the
a little
3rd.
flex time there.
Yeah.
Depending on who we've got, we may want to make some phone calls, we may want to check on some people before we make determinations. So that gives us all week after we've made some discussion, had some discussion about the various firms.
March 10th is a Friday. Tough for people. It's tough for me.
Well, that's just the notification.
We'll already decide.
Like it would go out that
It's a
week.
selection, so that's when
We-
we sign out.
We're meeting on the 9th.
We meet on the 9th, yeah.
We're meeting on the 9th, and then on the 10th, notification to the company.
Okay, I thought that's when we're supposed to select them, that's where I read it.
Yeah.
Do we notify the company before the town council approves it though? Like the selection recommendation is just us
I
deciding.
think we're notifying the town council.
Yeah, okay. That's what I'm saying, is that, that's really.
Yeah.
The 9th.
Oh, right, and then they review it on the 14th.
They reviewed
At
on the
their
14th and then. it
I mean,
goes-
so you could change that to the 9th if you want.
Yeah.
Selection recommendation to the 9th.
I think they use the 10th because that's when they prepare the town council package.
Yeah, that's what Sean was
Put it out on
saying.
the Friday.
You know, kind of no later than the 10th, but the
But
9th
for
is
our
fine.
purposes, we'll do it at our meeting on the 9th.
Yeah.
And then
Keep us
we can
honest.
notify the town. I mean, and I want to reiterate, if we're prepared, if we get to a point where we say we need a little more time and check into the companies or whatever, I don't want to rush it. This is probably the most important decision we're going to make. Love to stay on schedule, but we'll see.
And don't forget, this schedule is accelerated beyond the timeline that was initially proposed too. So, I mean, I appreciate what you're saying. Let's not panic ourselves into a bad decision to meet a timeline that is even
Well, the
beyond.
worst that would happen is we would go to the town council a month later.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, it's based on our original schedule,
Or they have a special meeting later in the month.
that's possible too.
So this next section, we talked about limiting the number of pages for each element of the statement, like we did for owner's rep version. And I ripped off basically the page limitations from the owner's rep version and plugged them into this. And I just, if anybody has any strong feelings, that's why I highlighted the different pieces, and including you, Jeff, obviously, if there's something that we're missing here.
Still looking at a 30-something page.
Yeah, it's meaty regardless. So
On that experience part, do you want to list somewhere registrations and certifications? An architect, they have lead certification or registered architect. I mean, I assume they put in their resume, but do you want to specifically include that?
And put it right in the list of the first.
yeah, these bullets here, right? We can
Yeah.
add it right into here.
Under company
I think
information.
Or the one
Job
above,
title.
educational background, maybe after academic degrees?
Well, where it says current job title, certifications.
Yeah, certifications
Licenses
and
and
license, yeah,
certifications.
licenses and certifications.
Yeah, I think it would really help to have that pulled
Yeah.
out.
I looked at like 20 different licenses and certifications architects can get.
You scroll up a little.
Sure.
Should we spell out like maybe we do later in this bullet, but like the sub-consultants that they plan to use for like the mechanical
I
design?
agree with that. I was thinking
Structural
that
design.
the engineering firms,
Yeah,
In number 5, it says provide a list of key personnel to be assigned to this project, including consultants, if applicable, consultants and subcontractors.
I'd just say sub-consultants.
yeah.
Sub-consultants, really want like the mechanical design and stuff. We
Yeah.
want
The resumes
We don't
of
want
key
them to come in and-
personnel.
basically use one type of mechanical contractor.
I remember the final firm would then have to come in with their bigger proposal.
Yeah, but if they know up front that they're not gonna
Right.
get by by just saying that they have somebody to do it, then they go skimp on
We want the
mechanical
date.
design.
So we might see something that, you might see a firm, a sub-consultant.
That you recognize for the wrong
Somebody's,
reason.
exactly,
Mhm.
and that might be a reason to reach out to them and say, hey, or to
Okay, good piece there too. The green language here is stuff that we kind of kicked about a little bit in our last meeting. Have you or your firm, because it was have you, and there was some desire to add your firm
Mhm.
I think it's just
Yeah,
broader, more
I like that.
inclusive.
Yeah.
Yep, I like that.
Okay, so we'll keep the highlighted. And then additional no more than 4 pages. This was blank before, and let's see the following schedule. The project work plan.
Sequence. I don't know what that means.
Jeff, do you have a sense of what this is speaking to?
It's somewhat duplicative because we already identified above what the schedule is going to be for procurement. So if you want to delete that last sentence, the town
Right.
anticipates the
Yeah.
following schedule, you can delete that.
Let's change, go back up where completion is underscored. For completing each step of the process. For no completion, I guess.
Include a timeline. You're being a very good girl. Got a feeling she's not gonna join the group permanently.
No, well, Lexi goes to Quinnipiac, so it's gonna be great.
We love having her.
I'll say
This is
everything
all
else.
boilerplate stuff.
Yeah, this is all.
Boilerplate.
This
Right at that
this
age.
workers' comp insurance, it was in there, but it was kind of squirrely how it was formatted, and I just wanted to make sure that when I tried to clean it up, that I was being accurate. I don't know if anybody who's got more insurance background, $50,000 or $500,000 per disease policy limit.
The only real, I mean, that's a legal minimum. The only real insurance we care about for the architect is professional liability.
Which is commercial general liability insurance,
No, professional liability.
Professional liability is different.
business, automobile,
Number
and
4,
professional
there's
liability.
professional.
There we go. 5 million per
Some
claim.
errors and omissions.
The deductible is a big deal. I typically state a limit on the deductible because what ends up happening is you get into a claim scenario and it becomes very difficult to settle because the carrier and the insured don't see eye to eye because the insured has to pony up a deductible that's large and they don't want to write a check. So my experience has been that if you cap the deductible at $75,000, you can avoid a lot of drama in the event that you have a mediation or a claim scenario.
So that 75 is what you recommend?
Yeah. Because if you go much lower than that, what ends up happening is they tell you that, you know, they have a higher deductible and what are we supposed to do about it? I actually had one project where we had somebody, a very large firm that had a $250,000 deductible, and we told them they had to post a letter of credit as collateral, and they did it. So there's ways of dealing with it if you get somebody really big that has a high deductible. But more often than not, the firms are going to have deductibles that are somewhere between 50 and 100,000.
Is the 5 million limit normal?
You could maybe say it's a little bit high. You know, when you look at the size of the project and what the likely fees are going to be, I think it's a fair number. And also when you look at, what things cost these days, when you're underwriting a professional liability policy as a carrier, you're looking at the type of job and you're looking really at exposure for errors more than you are for omissions. And, a typical E&O claim on the error side is going to be work that needs to be redone. So, you're talking about general conditions for a construction manager, you're talking about trade contractor, you're talking about markups on a change order, owner's rep fees. So it adds up in a hurry.
And that was it that we had in terms of comments or highlights within the document.
The plan is, once we have this approved, we're just going to change this will be one, and then we'll just add a new number, change the name of the school, and send out the other one with all the same changes, right?
Correct.
It's gonna be two almost identical.
Right. So this point, almost identical with the exception of the location. At this point, we would just need a motion.
I would make a motion to approve as corrected.
Have a
I'll
second?
second, yeah.
A couple of seconds.
Can't be a unanimous section. Second. All in favor?
Any discussion?
Aye.
Yeah.
Make sure it's
Sorry. Yeah, good point.
Unanimously accepted.
When everybody seconded it, I kind of jumped the gun.
So that's for this one. Do we need to make a motion to formally approve doing this for the other school as well?
It's a good question,
We may as well,
Chris.
yeah.
Yeah, may as
Go
well.
ahead and
I'll make
Make
a
that
motion
motion
for the
we also-
North End school as well.
Yep.
With the same changes.
Someone else want a second?
Second.
There we go.
Okay.
Right.
You want one second that?
All right. And any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. One of the things that Jeff had suggested is that we put together some sort of an evaluative instrument so that when the RFQ comes through, he did send us one suggestion. I was wondering if there was a person or two here who might want to play with that between now and next week. And okay. That one, I just printed it off, but it's in the folder. You put it in the folder, right?
Right. Under which one is that? I thought I saw. There's a price evaluation matrix.
That's for the RFP. Yeah.
Then there's RFQ scoring matrix.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the one.
There's two of those in there. There's
So
one
it's a spreadsheet.
labeled sample and then some sample template.
Okay.
It is, yeah. Under evaluation tools, Chuck.
Yeah. So, and, that was just a sample that he had sent us. And based on the RFQ itself, what are we gonna look for? How would we weight the different things? And if, Chuck, thank you very much for volunteering to do that. If you could have something for us, take a look at next Thursday. Any other items for discussion? If not, then do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Wonderful.